Okay, so the third video here is about dynamic uh, polymorphism, uh, and we're going to be using virtual methods. In this particular case, I'm going to depart from the handout because the handout does something which is really odd, and that is they don't just talk about a virtual method here, but they also talk about something which is completely unrelated to the polymorphic uh, concept, which they talk about creating a function, a class that calls other classes, and that's fine, but isn't really relevant to the topic. So I'm going to do something a lot simpler for demonstration purposes here. Okay, so I've created two text boxes here, one that indicates that the base class, that information is going to be coming from the base class, and information is going to be coming from the daughter class. The base class I called Mama, and it's just a simple class, public virtual string. Okay, so we're saying that it is a virtual method, and it's going to pass back a value of string. Now again, this could be void, this could be anything. The only reason I'm doing string as a pass back is because I am sending information back for the form to process it. Okay, and the only thing I'm doing here is just simply saying return the text Mama's recipe, and this would be roughly equivalent is I could say public virtual void chicken, and then if I were doing this in command console, I could simply say console write line Mama's recipe, and not need a return statement. But since this is a form, I'm sending back item that I'm going to be attaching to the form, and you can see that here where I've declared instantiated rather a variable m here, and then into the text box for Mama I am saying m.chicken. Okay, that's the virtual method that would do this, and so when I pass that value back, it's stuck into the text box. Here. Okay, and then when I'm doing the daughter inherits from Mama. So basically it's taking this chicken method and it's overriding it here where it says override, and it's modifying it, if you will, and returning daughter's recipe as opposed to Mama's recipe. That's all it has to do. That's all you have to understand to understand the concept of using virtual rather than abstract. In abstract, you cannot instantiate the abstract class, but when you declare things virtual, like I did here in Mama, I can instantiate Mama and I can instantiate daughter, and when I pushed that particular button, I did. I instantiated Mama, I instantiated daughter, and then I output chicken into the Mama text box, and then I outputted from the daughter class, I outputted into the daughter text box. It's really no more complicated than that. So when I run it, you can see that when I press this button, it puts in the appropriate thing into the appropriate text box. Even though I've overridden the Mama's text box. Mama's text still stays at what it was, and daughter's text is modified to what it needs to be. And understand here, these are both called chicken, and if I had created a method in Mama called chicken, which I actually did, but it was not virtual, then if I had called a method in daughter called chicken, then I wouldn't be able to do anything. It would show whatever was in Mama. So by making the chicken virtual in Mama, then I'm allowed to override it in daughter. Okay, so the purpose here is to make it so that whichever one I call is the one that I want to specify here. Okay, so it doesn't really have to be any more complicated than that. And, you know, last thing here that I want to throw in, the assignment says create 3 of each. I don't really care whether it has 3 of each, so long as you show me that you understand the thing there. I just did 2 right off the bat there, where I inherited from this. You know, you could really just as almost easily there add another text box and do you know, granddaughter and another text box and do great granddaughter, all inheriting from Mama. Okay. So, you know, that one's not that particularly difficult. When we were talking about shape here, we were talking about an abstract class. Rectangle overrides area in this particular spec. As I said back in the last video, you could create one for triangle, you could create one for circle, and so on and so forth, all of them inheriting from the base abstract class of shape. Okay, and then briefly recapping here, overloading is fairly straightforward. It all has to be done within the single class. Okay, so I hope these help. I am going to go put my foot up and hopefully relieve some of my foot pain. Okay, so have a good evening.